come to buy.
Yeah, good. We spoke last week about it. I was on last week's call.
Oh yeah, of course you were. I lose track of when you were back.
No, I'm good, mate. I'm really fucking stressed today.
Why? What's going on?
Just fucking everything, mate. It's just been a mad week. It's just been a mad. Like last week was mad, and then this week's exactly the same. It's not. I'm not complaining. Like I said, a lot of clients are set up, but it's just like. And I did the program and templates told me to, so I think that added like extra workload that I wouldn't normally do.
Yes,
like
are you done?
Start of a week. Yeah, I've done them. Yeah, and I was going to cover it today and just kind of get your opinions on it.
Perfect. There we go.
It's done.
And then hopefully now, like next time you have a big week like that, like as busy as that was, at least you now know I've got right. I'm in the setup in a good place for next time I have a big load of client intakes that I've got a bunch of skeleton programs to use.
I think it is as well. When I'm in like this stressful moment, I think I keep thinking, "Fuck, is this like my life now?" But then I think I fail to realise you're not going to have a big intake every week, and I'm just reminding myself it's just these last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and as I say, like the more systems you build, and I know Kean wants to go for programming as well, so this will be useful. Like the more systems you build, the easier this stuff will be, right? Because like if my setup, for sake of if I share my screen. Like this is sort of my intermediate template. So in here, I've got, and I showed you this, Lorenzo, last week, right?
Yeah.
Chest specialization, like a high volume, local tension sort of post-exhaust program. Then I've got a starting strength program, a shoulders and arms program in here. I've got a sort of more systemic sort of program here for high volume.
Yeah.
Then I've got a 5x5. Then I've got a back and hamstring posterior chain focus. Then I've got an FST7 program. Then I've got a wave loading program. And then I've got a leg specialization. Then a half body program. And then an 8x2. So like a couple of these I still need to write. But like if you've got that, we've basically got a bunch of sort of tabs where I can just kind of like unhide a tab.
Yeah.
Based off what is the most relevant to the client. And that's sort of where you want to get to. Is like, right, I've got a client. Out of all the template skeleton programs I have, which is the one that's like fits their goals the best? Unhide that tab, right? And then you just make small adjustments. So our program you're not making a whole program from scratch really ever. You're picking which one is the best from the database that I have. And then I'm going, right, what do they have? Do they have overhead range? No. Okay, I changed that. Can they squat? No, I'll stick them on a leg press, and then just make those small adjustments.
Yeah, that's what I've done. So I've got we'll cover it after anyway and make more sense once we go through it.
Cameron, we doing good? He's there. I'll let him say hello whenever he connects his audio. Keema, because I know you've been working on some stuff quite intensely. Do you want to start with any questions particularly that you have or stuff you want to go through?
Well, the main thing I want to go through is a client that I'm getting a photo shoot ready. We're a month out.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Can I
we just share screen?
Yeah, let me just pull up Trainer Eyes. So he's like willing to be pushed. And at the moment, like he really, really wants to like make sure he's in tip-top shape. So at the moment, where is he? I just wrote notes somewhere.
Huh?
I say kill him.
Yeah. If he dies, he dies.
Indeed. I need to keep him alive. He's a good client.
Yeah. But at least he needed to make sure he keeps his bank account active at the very least.
Well, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, as long as direct debit's still going, that's fine. But yeah, sorry, currently, I don't know why, but I can't move screens all of a sudden. I don't know what's going on here. So I can't see you. Let's see. Hold on. Do you want me to share my screen?
If it's easier for you, man, you can share it, you can describe it, whatever you feel you need.
I've like lost you, so I can't. Okay, I'll just have to talk through it for now.
Yeah.
So he's on around about. Wait, where's the screen gone?
This is a week of tech issues. Like we've got Cameron clearly not been able to log in properly. I've been trying to build this lead magnet on Notion, and it's driving my head in.
Yeah, none of my gestures are working on my Mac. Like I'm scrolling and nothing's bloody moving. Sorry.
That's okay. It happens.
And it was just there. I had all the information I needed. Okay, right. He's on about 1,700 calories at the moment.
Okay.
He hits them. He hits his protein daily. Like he's really good. His cardio, he's actually doing more cardio than he should be doing, slightly more. We had 4 times 200 calories prescribed. He does around about, I think like he's done like 1,500 calories of cardio a week is what he's doing.
Okay.
8K steps. And for strength training sessions, we've decreased it to 2 sets recently.
Okay.
So, and now hit the last 2 weeks, so we're looking at 1% drop.
Yeah.
Last 2 weeks we had 1%. The week before it was 0.5, sorry, around about 0.75. This week it looks a little flatter, but he was ill recently. So I just want to know, like, to what extent can I push it? Because everything's, I guess, quite low, but we're on 1,700 calories. And I said to him, look, maybe we just do a week where it's just literally chicken salad. He's like, he wants to do that.
You mean you could do that? Like the question is, do you need to? Like, how lean is he? That's the like at the moment everything seems to be humming along quite nicely. That's like a good. But is he behind? Like in your eyes?
Is he? He's definitely getting leaner, but dropping
I'd love to see a picture. I want to see a picture now.
3 to 4 kg. I don't know why I can't bloody do anything on this. It's really annoying me.
Can you upload a picture in the chat?
Mate, I literally can't even see you guys at the moment.
Oh, really?
Like, I can't move anything. Can I just log out the call and come back in and just see what the hell's going on? Sorry, mate. I don't know what's going. I'm going to restart.
This is making me want to do a photo shoot now.
I'm realizing I need to lose weight by the fact that my chair, I don't know if the chair's broken or I'm just fat, but it just keeps rolling down. And then I come back up and then it goes back down again.
Yeah,
that's a good sign.
I'll restart my computer. Sorry. I'll be back in like 5 minutes.
No stress.
All
right. Lorenzo, whilst Cameron's trying to, I don't know if he's here or not.
That's cool.
I have
a few things today. I don't think we'll be able to go for everything.
See what we can do.
Should we start with the programming stuff then? Can I share the screen? Yeah.
Yeah, should be able to.
Right. Let me go on. Where are we here? So if we go on my actual, I don't think it's worth maybe showing the program, more so showing you like the template of the, what is it? Like my actual system. So like what I've got is, these are the templates I've made for male and female. So I've gone for phase 1, like beginner, 2-day, full body, like you can do like 2 to 3 days a week, 12 to 15 reps, just like your basic one to get them started. And then I've put here at weeks 4 to 8, I'll move them into phase 2, which is 3 of those days instead of just a rotation of 2. And then it's a 10 to 12. And then I've put here like 8-week length. Then phase 3 would be like the 8 to 10. I didn't do a 6 to 8 one, so I don't really find clients get there. And if they do, I might just make one as and when.
I've always put a 6 to 8. I think most clients get to 6 can quite easily get to 6. I think below that, going like 5x5s and strength, less than you think.
Cool. So after 6 to 8, what I've done is I've also made because if a client, the goal is either progress them into upper lower, like just a hypertrophy 10 to 12 reps. But if they don't want to go into that and they're like 3 days a week is still good for me, then potentially I would just put them back into a 10 to 12, like 8 to 10 week, just hypertrophy, full body, but just more advanced exercises. Like instead of a Smith machine squat, having like an actual back squat, or get them actually deadlifting, like basically progressing the A series to like more advanced stuff. And then it's just like a free ball. It's kind of like upper lower 10 to 12, then upper lower 8 to 10 and linear periodization. They're all doing undulating depending on the client. And then I've also done, depending on the client as well, I always find as of guys, they always don't know if they want to always do a upper lower. So then I just like a push pull legs upper kind of split. I find that my guys have quite enjoyed. And then female, I've done pretty much exactly the same. Just I haven't done this here for them because I know they don't really give a shit about 3 upper body days.
Yeah, that's why I quite like crossbody for girls, like lower posterior, upper push, and vice versa. But like, I think as well, like whether you move from full body to 3 day a weeks, depending on how well somebody recovers. So let's say you're doing full body Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? At some point, as they get more efficient with their exercise selection, their chest might be so fucked on Wednesday from what you did on Monday. That's your time to move into a 4-day split. So you're still doing the same frequency, but you're now spreading it out over a course of a longer period of the program.
Cool. And there was one other thing I was going to ask, a couple of things. This is like now how my brain works. So like actually having a system that works well. So when I set a client up, I put them on this sheet here. So I've got every client here. Yeah. And then I go, and then I'll just map out, when is their 4-week call, when's their 8-week call, and I also map out when to update their programs. Mm-hmm. So do you think, just thinking of like ease, do you reckon it's easier just to put, for example, here for a new client that started, and I've done like 4-week review, 4-week review, program update, and then that might just be, I don't know, like, would you say like they're going to 100% move into this phase just for ease, or would you just say review their data and then decide whether to put them into it?
Right? Like I probably, and it depends where somebody's at, right? I think when you're looking at pure beginners, you could potentially make an argument for just building them into that phase, because you're probably doing things that way. You think, right, I could probably get more from this client if I made the progression, even though they're progressing in it, I've got more in the tank. As you start to get more advanced, you're trying to build what you call like a trainable menu. We've got a guy called Joni Gentlecore, the guy in the
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah,
he's coming to do a guest speaker gig soon. He's about building your trainable menu, and it's sort of like after when someone gets more advanced, it's like, well, what can the client have a good connection with, that they can load well, right? That goes through a good range of motion, and then start to build up from those programs. From there, you're going to make a very small adjustment. So for sake of, I've got a client that I could easily change the program for Monday, right? She's in London, so I caught up with her yesterday, and for coffee, and we just spoke about like, well, what does she like? What doesn't she like? What doesn't she have a connection with? And we were just sort of going, right, we'll add a little bit of volume on here. So like I had another guy like I've been working with for a while, and we just realized, he said his chest doesn't recover as well. His back doesn't recover as well as his chest. So he brought back volume down, increased chest volume. Like, but the actual program in itself has stayed relatively the same. And then you sort of that's your micro progressions. And then you will change your program based on when that's not progressing anymore. So like, if I've got, let's say, if I go to this, so you find the whiteboard.
The only thing I'm like, based off of this week, how it's been going in the last 2 weeks, is like, I don't want to spend 3 hours getting a headache over programming and updating people.
You don't want to
it was like programming was easy when there was like 20 people, but now it's like moving towards 40. It's like how I don't want to be spending so much time programming. Not as in like a lazy way, but like just mentally, it's like fucking going through everyone. Whereas if I just say like, this is when you're going to get an update, and just giving them an update, it just is for ease, for sake of ease.
How personally you want the service, mate.
Yeah. So I don't know, like that's another question within itself.
Do you have a blocked out time for programming per week now in your diary?
Yeah, I've always have. Like I'll block out like, the problem is
how
long? This morning, like basically I've done it for 3 hours, but that includes setting clients up as well as the same block.
Yeah. So if you had a programming block, right, I could probably update 40 people in 3 hours.
Yeah.
Quite easily. So because you think of it, right? So let's say they're on, I don't know, your upper lower template, and it's strength, for example, right? You will run that until you start to see problems in your nervous system, that the nervous system's not recovering. So signs like over anxious, sleep's getting a bit patchy, things like this, general fatigue. Then you just pick one of the strength endurance templates. So all you need to do is go, right, cool, which one template's going to work for them? That one. So while you're not doing it at an arbitrary 4 weeks, you're doing when that feedback is there, right? You are literally just changing this. And then in a hypertrophy block, it could be, let's say you've got a hypertrophy program and you want to do a micro progression to keep it going. So let's say you've got a workout that is A, B, C, D1, D2, for example. So let's say we've got incline dumbbell, 2 times 6 to 10. Let's say we've got pull down, 2 times 6 to 10. Let's say we've got T-bar row, 2 times 6 to 10. And let's say we do delts, let's say like cable lateral. And then bicep, incline curl, right? And then let's say you get to a point where you're looking at the progress and their biceps are more the weakness, looking at it in their photos, or they're saying that they're not recovering well on chest, like it's a bit sore. Your program update could be this. Done. Add an extra bicep exercise to get the biceps to grow. Taking a set off chest to allow recovery. That's taken what? 10 seconds?
Yeah.
10 seconds times 40, you'll fit that into 3 hours.
Yeah, again, but it's 10 seconds, but it's 10 seconds, like it's not 10 seconds with the way my brain thinks or like my experience levels, or like it's more so like the mental fatigue, like today, just sitting there, like, and it just really, I know it may sound lazy.
That's the actual question. It's not whether you can do this. It's what's making your head full of stuff.
It's just the overthinking of everything. It's just like sometimes I would just like the fact that I could just program and just give them the update and adjust the update, but not. I don't care. Like it's super personalized in the sense that I don't want to be the best program designer in the world. No. I just want to give my clients a program that they can use and they'll progress on. And I'm not like.
But the key thing is they'll progress on, right? And you might get lucky. Like people with template programs build muscle. But like if the goal is hypertrophy here, this is where program design becomes more important, right? Because if your program design skills are wank, then you might gain muscle if you just feed them, but they'll also probably get more fat than they will get muscular. And they probably won't progress in the way you'd like, right? They won't add so much development, like balanced physique. So like, if we're looking, are all your clients hypertrophy based?
As in like they're all fat
They're all
loss.
trying to build muscle or hold on to muscle whilst dieting.
Oh yeah. Like maybe 3/4.
Okay, so what's the biggest driver of hypertrophy?
I fucking know what they call this. Was it tension? Muscle tension? Muscle tension? No.
Mechanical tension.
Mechanical tension, that's it.
Mechanical tension, right? So essentially, that means, right, we need to create a good amount of like an acute overload. So that is like, am I training hard enough in the set? So that could be how many reps in reserve that we have, like proximity to failure, and then a progressive overload, right? And that's essentially what we need to do, right? So how many ways can we create a progressive overload? List me
loads. Sets, reps, tempo, yeah. Reduce rest. Would that count as one? Not really.
Like we can increase density, yeah.
Density, yeah.
It wouldn't be the best one, but it's a lever you can pull. And that's the thing, like you can pull that lever, but if I pull that lever, I might take out the biggest one, load.
Yeah.
So like if I add so let's say you do 100 kilos times 3, right? So 3 sets of 10 reps, right? So 100 kilos times 10 is 1,000. Times it by 3, that's 3,000 kilos of volume, right? If I drop the rest period, I potentially create more tension, but how much of that load is going to go down dropping this equation?
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So like sets, reps, and load potentially are going to be your 3 biggest levers to pull in here than anything else. Or we can work on here and take each set closer to failure. So when you know this, like you just look at a program and go, right, unless someone is experiencing signs that they've trained too much in a stimulus, option, pick a different template. If it's just that you want to create more progression, all you need to do is go through your program and decide which one of these 4 levers is the best to pull.
I find it really easy doing the micro progressions and like personalizing that. I suppose it's like what you just mentioned.
Here's the question. Oh, shit. Here's the question I have here, then, right? Unless somebody is, how often does somebody genuinely get to the point where in your programming where they're hammering a stimulus so much that they aren't recovering from it anymore? Like, how many times have you done a strength endurance program and they're getting the symptoms of strength endurance fatigue?
Like rarely.
Rarely,
because most of the time they're not fucking pushing hard.
Right?
They're not really pushing hard enough anyway. I can guarantee most people.
So 90% of your program adjustments is this.
Yeah.
And this is the bit you said you were good at. So what you're overwhelmed at?
Yeah, it's just busy few weeks. Yeah, I think it's just
you're getting in your own head.
Yeah, I'm always that's me. I told you when we started that I'm fucking an overthinker.
Mate, you and me both. That's why calls like this are important, right? It's important to have calls like this where you can speak to someone who's not in your shoes right now that can go, oh, you're overthinking it. Like I believe me, there'll be a time as well. I'm doing the same thing with my work. That if I got on a call with you, you go, Simon, what the fuck are you doing? Like it's just normal. But in this case, like that's it. Like I've had like sent PDFs like new phase from coaches when I've worked with people, and it's been like an extra bicep exercise on Tuesday and an extra tricep exercise on Thursday. Everything else has stayed the same because I didn't need it. I was progressing.
So I've literally just basically copied your templates, like you said, just for ease and made a few tweaks.
I would say you if you're doing hypertrophy, use the hypertrophy phases for 90% of your programming. Have a few examples of strength endurance methods that you can go into. Let's say post-exhaust or 6 short 25 or heavy light or double or 8x8 or whatever. Like have a few look stuff. At it, study it for the day, write a template, right? Then you're done. Few strength templates that you can go into. And then literally most of the time you're just making small adjustments to that hypertrophy template to keep them progressing. Or if you switch to templates because you've now decided you're not going to want to focus on arms anymore, you're going to move into the chest one.
Yeah, and last question for you with GBC. Everything I've done is GBC, and obviously I didn't do that before. Just for ease as well, would you tell clients like if you cannot superset these, even though the gym layout I've looked at fits with that, like just do the ones individually and don't stress it too much?
I'll go back to Whiteboard for this because there's a couple of ways you can look at this, right? So we're looking at a GBC program. We're going to be looking at generally it'd be something like this, right? A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, for example, right? Now, in here, you would normally go, let's say it could be around upper lower, target, right? And then we've obviously spoke about those 8 main movement categories, right? Vertical pull, horizontal pull, yada, yada, yada. Essentially, right, though, like while upper lower is probably the preferential one for beginners because you get a cardiovascular benefit, the reason why we're doing these supersets is to save time. So while I'm training my upper and resting the lower, I don't need to rest as long, I can come back. Right? If I did upper, rest a minute, upper, rest a minute, upper, rest a minute, then moved on, lower, rest a minute, that would take much longer. So a client's not willing to be in the gym long, that's the disadvantage. So you could say do straight sets.
Okay, cool.
You could pick exercises that are a bit easier to pair, which means that you don't have to be so like take the principle of GBC and take it like what we're trying to do, but don't be so caught up on the structure. For example, we've got this vertical push, vertical pull, horizontal push, horizontal pull, hip extension, knee flexion, uni squats, bilateral squats, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's it, right? So we've got these 8 movement patterns. Like all we need to do is put these into pairs that doesn't interfere with each other. So you wouldn't do like RDLs along with pull downs for sake of argument, right? Because of fatigue in the back. So when we've got these, we could have that being, it doesn't have to be upper lower. It could be as simple as like, okay, they've got a busy gym. So I would do, let's say, well, pick my horizontal push as like an incline dumbbell press.
Yeah.
And then B2 could be prone dumbbell row, could be antagonist, agonist.
Yeah.
Right. And then maybe we'll go, or we can do a goblet squat at the incline dumbbell press because we can just use the same bench as a heel lift. Maybe here we'll go, I don't know. I could do something like a Nordic curl. Let's say we do a leg curl.
Leg
Maybe
curl.
put a target area there, like a lateral raise, and then maybe do a leg curl in here. It's not ideal, but it'll get the job done.
And that's, I suppose, you have the template, but that's where you look at their gym layout, and that's where you that's where I'll do the customizing.
Yeah, so the sake of, I'm doing. If any of you guys know Michael Goulden, the guy who runs Integra, runs all the RTS courses, right? I'm getting personal training with him right now. This is my first superset. Cable, bicep curl, A1, bench press, A2. Now that sounds weird, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Why then have bicep first? Well, because he's still GBC. He's still doing GBC for me in a way. I'm doing one working set per exercise, so it's not really. But when you look at this, that is because I've got a bit of an issue with my bicep of my right shoulder, where it's a bit gammy over, like where it crosses into the scapula, jamming the joint, and it's affecting me in a lot of pull down stuff. So he's pre-fatiguing the biceps at the long head of the bicep, calm the fuck down before going into my pull down stuff. So, like, your why in your program trumps the structure. Does that make sense?
This has helped a lot. Yeah, thank you. It's just
like, don't overthink it. Like, use systems to give you frameworks and to cut down your decision-making process, but don't go the other way and get so locked into it. Like, what I teach a lot is, like, some people are so overwhelmed going like, there's so many exercises to choose from. Like, look, here's how to build a system. But then don't be so like, well, I can't put biceps and A's. Why not? Like, the most important thing with program design is if you have a why. Like, backloaded structural balance I teach you, that breaks every program design rule.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
But because there's a why behind it. I get people into better positions, then I grill the groove with the back squat at the end with less weight. That makes sense. Chemo, do you want to go back into your back with a I think working camera? Do you want to go into your client?
That's the most stressed I've been all day. I felt like I was on Windows 98, like, but Control Alt Delete wouldn't even work. So terrible. So here's Felix this morning.
Our abs are coming through.
Yeah, quite a bit.
It's coming through. I mean, this looks good.
This is like his main problem area. Even his back's getting a bit lean, a bit leaner, but that's where he seems to hold on to a bit more fat.
I say his back's more of a concern in terms of getting lean than his front. That lower ab will come in, right? Fat comes from the top down. So, like, it's just that's just time.
So where are we at? This is coaching roadmap.
The overview is cool. I love Liam Sheets. You know, the one thing I don't like about Liam Sheets is that the check-in form is only 12 weeks at a time. But you end up with like 7 million tabs if you have a client that stays for a year.
Oh, I still use Typeform. So yeah, so it's all right.
No, I mean the roadmap stuff. Like, it's just like you using the app, right? So that still works. But like the data just ends up being like so many tabs. Anyway.
Yeah. So this is his performance the last 2 weeks, because I've only just switched to his. He's been with me since May, but I've only just switched, so I didn't backlog all the data.
That's all right.
He's had like a good gradual decrease if we look at, but I mean, I guess the most important thing is the next month, because his calories are at, this is calories at the moment. 165 protein, fats, carbs. And as I mentioned, he's doing a load of cardio at the moment. 1,500 calories he can do, but the weight still is moving slowly at the moment. But we have fixed something recently. His digestion was playing up. We realized, based on speaking with you, that he wasn't including many or much soluble fiber in his diet. So now that he started to include that, usually a weight drop occurs with him going to the toilet. So he's expecting a movement, he says, in the next couple of days. So that might bring his weight down a touch more, because this week it's been fairly flat. So yeah, 4 weeks out. I just want to know. My idea is just to push him hard for the next 3 weeks. And the final week, he's going to be in Tokyo, so he can relax more there. But he's not going to be drinking.
Good.
And then he comes to Bangkok because he's based in Geneva. He comes to Bangkok on the Saturday. Then we'll do the photo shoot probably as soon as he gets here on the Saturday, I believe.
The only concern with that is obviously there's flights have an element of water retention. That's just something to be aware of, right? Like the flight may end up mean he doesn't look quite as good.
Yeah.
So if there's a way of giving him a couple of days, if that's possible, that's probably your biggest concern. Because we always, when we talk calipers, it's like don't do calipers after a flight, right? Because you're going to hold them to a bit of water from the pressure. So yeah, I mean, I think like looking where he's at, like 0.5, 0.7 is actually a decent rate of loss. People get leaner, right? You like your fixation on 1% exactly drops can sort of taper off a little bit. So if you start thinking about most guys to get leaner, you're probably looking like a 0.75% of their body weight per week. So I think he's progressing nicely. The question is, especially with his back, like, do you go a little bit more aggressive for 3 weeks to just try and really kind of get a little bit out of it? Now, this is a risk reward scenario, right? Because you potentially could run the risk of losing a little bit more lean tissue. And you probably wouldn't necessarily lose too much more fat. However, you could do like a protein sparing modified fast and throw in, like, if you needed to, depending on how he's feeling, throw in a high day on the weekend. So like go like basically protein and fats probably stay where they are now, and then maybe carbs basically just veg, and then throw in high days when you feel he needs them, when he's looking really flat or he's starting to really feel it. And that could be weekly, or that could be every 3 to 5 days. Depends on the person, how well they're recovering. You could do that, but he's not progressing badly. Like 0.5, 0.7 last 2 weeks is pretty good going. And if the digestion thing means he was actually losing more than that, we could be in a good space.
Yeah.
He's absolutely starting to come through. 3 hard weeks of dieting, you'll start to see him, I think. What do you think, Lorenzo?
Should we go back to him?
Are you muted, I think?
Sorry, chatting then. Yeah, definitely 3-4 weeks. I mean, you're only going to get leaner. But I would probably, I'd probably just fucking push him as hard. If he said he wants to be pushed, because like 3 weeks is a lot of time, but it's also not a lot of time in a sense that every week really does count, because then does that make sense?
Yeah. What would you've had a client photo sheet more recently than I have. What would you do?
Yeah. What changes wise? I wouldn't change his cardio, because I think you've mentioned this before. If he's willing to do it and he's got the time to do it, and I would rather him do more cardio. And if he was losing too much weight, which probably ain't going to happen anyway, then I would rather just give him a bit more food.
Yeah, but I wouldn't give him a bit more food. I wouldn't give him a bit more food now.
No, I wouldn't give it now. I mean, if he was losing like 2% a week, I would just push him. I honestly would just push him, because at the end of the day, whatever calories we're giving him anyway, like he's probably eating more than that regardless. So yeah, just. And
then when you say push him, like how hard, like
how many steps is he getting in?
He's managing 8K at the moment. He can do 12K, but it's really raining in Switzerland at the moment, so he's doing it mostly he could do 15K in the summer, no problem, but now it's the weather's impacting things.
And what cardio is he doing? Is it bike, or is it running, or is it?
He's doing a bit of everything. So sometimes bike, sometimes cross trainer, sometimes running. He's doing everything.
I would, and is he counting if he's running, is he counting those as towards a step count for the day?
No. This guy is super strict. He's really good.
I would just get his steps up. Even still, I actually would, even though his cardio is up.
If you're going to push him, I would drive activity and maybe bring carbs down a little bit, especially if he's like his back is where he starts to store fats. Like I like, if you really wanted to push him, this is what I would personally do. I would do what we call a protein sparing modified fast. If you want to learn more about that, maybe like try it here. But then if you want to learn why it works, get Lyle McDonald's book, the it's not Stubborn Body Fat Solution, it's the Ultimate Diet 2.0. Right. And he basically just goes I basically go like protein, same, fats, I probably wouldn't go much lower, bring carbs down to like less than 50 grams, and then just throw in refeeds if you need them. If you're going to go low carb, though, make sure he salts his food, otherwise he'll definitely feel like shit. And he might feel like shit anyway. But by design, you've got 3 weeks, it's time to push. But like if he takes out carbs, he probably takes out sodium as well.
Yeah.
He probably won't even struggle. Maybe like
3 weeks. I don't think he'll struggle. Most of the time when people struggle on hard dieting, it's because they feel it's going to be forever. There's no end date. People can do amazing things when the deadline is close.
I actually did a training this week for everyone called the Sustainable Diet Fixer. And it was basically all about people wanting sustainable diets when right now they're in no position to want anything sustainable because their lifestyle is just not conducive to that.
Yes, I love that. I love that.
and then I just basically talked about the fact that if you want to actually change, like sustainable diets, they're only sustainable after you've gone through a period of unsustainability where you've actually lost the weight, and you've got to be willing to actually do that. Because I've got one client at the moment. I basically sometimes when my clients say something before, I used to just like, challenge them a bit, but now I just save it up for about a week, then just create a training that's kind of geared towards what they said, and just hope that they chip.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I think you'd be amazed to see. It's like, who have you lot been to university? Give me a thumbs up if you've been to uni, right? So for the guys that have been to uni here, other than Cameron, right, I'm sure you've got it for exams you've done in the past at school, right? Like you've gone from struggling to work hard to cramming overnight, and you've literally lived off coffee. You haven't even had a wink of sleep. It's amazing what you can do when a deadline is looming. Like I don't think you'll struggle with it. And if you do, throw in the refeeds to keep up neat, keep training performance up. I would make sure cardio is low impact. So don't get pounding the pavements, like cross trainer, incline walk, that sort of stuff, probably more than bike. So he's using arms and legs. And then just sort of like monitor how he's feeling. Low carbon for a bit. He'll tighten up with that.
Yeah, I'm just going to write
because also then you're depleting carbohydrates, and then you can fire them up. For like you can load them up on the last week, right?
Yeah. Cool. That's good. That gives me a bit more clarity.
Perfect. Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to see how this guy looks, because you can see everything tighten up with that. Because if that comes from the top down, right? It's the fact that we can start to the upper abs start to peek through. And what's really nice is when you see the serratus come through, you're like, this guy is in a good position. Like,
yeah.
Like I often find if you've got like fat here on the sides, like that, I'm not saying that's necessarily more unhealthy fat, but like the actual fat around the midsection, the chance of it being more digestive related and visceral could be more likely. Whereas I see everything else is just, it's tightening up, and you just see that it's just going almost like the fat loss is, you can see it being directed towards that lower abdomen. You know it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a case of like time and working hard, and it'll get there.
Yeah.
Emma, do you want to answer if you got anything you want to particularly go through today?
So can I ask one more very quick one?
Yeah, of course.
On refeeds, what would the protocol be for that?
It depends. So are we talking like before the shoot or just in general?
Oh, just in general, if he's feeling like, man, I need some carbs.
I would start off with 1 day at about 16 calories per pound, mainly through carbohydrates increase.
Okay, yeah. So
and then just
basically, it's just a day back at maintenance.
Basically. Yeah. And then just see how he feels. I would certainly say, like, because you can use this opportunity now to always trial a high day. So I tried at 16, see how he feels. You want to see weight go up, and then you want it to come back down by 3 days afterwards. So if you start to see that it comes down immediately afterwards, that means that potentially you didn't go aggressive enough, and you may have got a bit more room when you do the final carb up. Or you could go, if it goes up and it's like takes too long, then you're like, okay, we need to be less aggressive on the final one.
I got you. Thank you.
Sweet. And just watch his fiber. Because if people have been dieting for a while, they might try and like overly clean food it and then not shit for 3 weeks. And that will definitely ruin his photo shoot. And I'm speaking, unfortunately, from experience. Not personal experience, from coaching experience. Just make sure that he doesn't ramp his fiber to the roof. Gammon, anything particular you want to go through today?
Hey, mate. Yes, there is. I'm struggling to find the balance between like the carb intake for my players. So obviously we know the carbohydrate intake, especially in season, the phase they're in now, super important. They're like playing football multiple times a week, got games on the weekend. Some are playing 2 games on the weekend, and it comes back to what these guys have said, like when you're trying to drop those carbs and like really push someone, which I'm going to get to obviously, hopefully further down the line when we get to get like photo shoots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Trying to find the balance between that transformation and them actually performing well on the pitch. Because without the carbs, I've learned the hard way. I've cut my carbs before, and it's been a shit show on the pitch.
Yeah, I think the key thing there is going to be like everyone's going to be slightly different in terms of how they respond to stuff. But one of the key things often is that like we don't need as many carbohydrates as we think. People often like go, "Oh, I'm playing sport. I'm doing a big hike. I need like 1,000 grams." No, you don't. You don't need 1,000 grams of carbs. So like it will, again, I'm making the most of this whiteboard today, but like if you think about what we need, so what do we need carbohydrates for?
Energy, glucose.
Energy, but it's there. So we're looking at what? Glycogen stores for muscles, to contract, right? So glycogen stores, we're looking at again, energy depends on the like energy.
It depends on the energy system. Yeah, it depends on the energy system, I guess. Because you're using all 3 when you're on the pitch.
Yeah, so we're looking at high intensity energy. And I think like football players, like you have bursts. That intermittent sports, or rugby and football, is the hardest because it's not. I would say it's going to be like people assume because I will do some sprinting that I'm going to need lots of carbohydrates because it's high intensity.
Yeah.
Right? But remember, there's like a depreciating asset when it comes to energy systems.
Yeah.
So if I do a 10-second sprint, right, that's, let's say, like intensity, and then there's sort of like volume, that's super anaerobic, right? Let's say this is how anaerobic it is. But then second sprint, tapers. Third sprint, tapers. Fourth sprint, tapers. It becomes very aerobic very quickly.
Yeah, that's right.
So if I do a Tabata, the first, like people think of Tabatas, like, because it's, if you look at it on paper, it's an anaerobic training system, right? Because it's a 10-second or 20-second sprint, depending whether you do Tabata or reverse Tabata, with 10 or 20 seconds rest. So you go, 10 seconds, that's anaerobic. Yeah. Well, it's not, because your rest periods are so short that it becomes more and more aerobic as your intensity tapers off. So it's actually more of an aerobic stimulus, I think, football. Probably even more so. I mean, rugby plays slightly more anaerobic because you still need to have these bursts of hitting tackles and stuff. But
I agree.
More aerobic than you think. So, like, do we actually need that many carbohydrates? Probably not. So what do we need to then to fuel energy? What you need to make sure someone's hydrated. And these are things I would have in place before I want to know how many carbs someone's on. So is someone hydrated? So first off, is obviously water, right? Because have any of you watched the second Tim Spector interview with Diver CEO? God,
Tried
you know
to.
what I'm talking about, right? The guy said that calories didn't matter on Diver CEO. The guy who owns Zoe, the blood sugar company.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right? He literally
I got
said,
so angry watching that.
Go on, Kim, what were you going to say?
I got so angry watching that. I can't watch the whole thing. I couldn't watch it. And
Where I stopped, this is the second one. I watched the first one in full. Where I stopped is he literally said there is no evidence to suggest that drinking more water improves performance. Like, hydration doesn't matter. What? What's the actual fuck? Like, a 2% drop in hydration quite commonly is found to have up to a 20% drop in performance. That's fucking crazy. So we're looking at obviously the amount of water coming in, and we're also looking at the how well it's being utilized and stored. So we're going to be looking at electrolytes, right? This is one of the reasons why sodium, as performance goes up, they're going to need more sodium. People often say, "Oh, I feel like shit when I go dieting." It's because they're told by the doctors that salt's going to make the heart explode, and then they take all the sodium out. Sodium really important for to be able to contract muscles and use this glycogen. At the same time, sodium is important to make sure your hydration. Hydration is going to make it important to make you feel energetic. So you want to make sure there's salt in the meal.
Did that link back? Did that sodium link back to cramping when they end up cramping 60th, 70th minute? Is that a part of the lack of sodium?
Probably more potassium.
That's it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And I wouldn't say start loading up bananas. I would just get into supplements and electrolyte.
Yeah.
Like, everyone talks about bananas, but it's not actually that much potassium in a banana. Really.
Yeah.
So you often find it like it's a sodium to potassium balance, like omega-3 to omega-6, right? You should have about 2 parts potassium to 2 parts sodium to 1 part potassium. So obviously, want to make sure you're salting your meals, but if you're not getting enough potassium, means they're not eating their vegetables, or like we're not supplementing with electrolyte, or whatever else. We might find that that's when they start cramping up. So that's maybe a good sign of something with electrolyte. So we've got these things in place, and then because it's more aerobic in nature, we want to make sure fat's in a good place, right? And then potentially, if we want to really nerd out on this, we can look at omega-3 to 6. So your omega-3 to 6 ratio, this is not directly related to football and performance, but if someone is having considerably more processed food and is really pro-inflammatory rather than more compared to anti-inflammatory, right? This will potentially mean that their joints are more likely to swell up. They're probably going to feel more lethargic. The inflammation does a lot of stuff, right? It means you're not going to recover as well. Your body's going to be in a bit more stress. So we should have 2 to 1 to 4 to 1, 6 to 3. So like pro-inflammatory to anti-inflammatory. So we want more pro-inflammatory fats because otherwise, if you didn't have any pro-inflammatory stuff, we'd bleed out when we cut ourselves. But the problem now is when most people eat fucking processed diets, it's like about 20 to 1. It's just monstrous. So like in our Western society, having more fish oil, things like this could be good. Yeah. And then recovery, stress management. Like, so we can look at maybe supplementing things like magnesium to help calm the nervous system down, so you can kickstart recovery. They're sleeping well. Yeah. I would look at all this stuff before I look at carbohydrates.
Right. Okay.
Because like fats means they've got a fuel source to keep them going until the last minute. Yeah. Hydration, enough said, right? And then we're just going to plug the gaps of what we need. So now we'll need, I wish I hadn't taken off the first 2. We need carbohydrates for glycogen stores. Yeah. We need high intensity fuel source. And then probably need it for recovery. Recovery probably more so than recovery probably more so than actual fuel, right? It helps calm the nervous system down, helps get into sort of this rest and digest state, that sort of stuff. So what do we actually need? Well, we probably need something 60 to 90 minutes pre-game. Similar to pre-workout, by the way, guys, who are football players. Now, how much? That trial and error. I would say start between 30 to 50 grams of carbohydrates and then just see how they perform and then like taper it like as you go. Whether it's 60 minutes or whether it's 90 minutes or whether it's 45 minutes beforehand, depends on the person. I can have a meal 45 minutes before training and feel fine. I could, if I go 90, I feel like I'm hungry and I hate training when I'm hungry. Some other people might feel sick at 45 minutes. So you might need to go longer. So like play around with it. It's a bit of trial and error here. So we need something free. We probably need something within 1 to 3 hours post. Probably another 30 to 50 grams here. Probably another 30 to 50 grams here. And then, to be honest with you, for most of your players, certainly your recreational guys, that's probably enough. I would start that a little bit before, a little bit afterwards, and then maybe then go, if they need it, their performance suffers, but again, the previous tick list comes first. We can then maybe start to play around with some intra. So like an electrolyte sports drink, carbohydrate, like branch cyclodextrin with some electrolytes in a bottle. Yeah,
something I do more for the guys, more like a semi-professional standard, is having that half-time window as a refuel window. Yeah.
But I think an electrolyte will probably do most of the job.
Yeah, sometimes energy, I get the energy gel sometimes. Energy gels work.
Electrolyte with some essential amino acids, right? Because you're probably breaking down a lot of shit. probably enough. But if you wanted, then you could probably add a scoop of grand sugar dextrin, which would be like 20 to 30 grams of carbs. That'll probably be enough.
Okay.
Like, and then you're sort of looking at it like, okay, cool. Now we've now taken into account, we play around with that, see what performs best, monitoring that with terms of weight loss. If the goal is still to do a photo shoot around this, and then the rest of it, then it goes back to similar things that we do, right? We've got this carbohydrate here. So let's say you had all of these. So like 100, 130 grams maximum, right? So that could be it. 130 grams of carbs done. You just tailor it in, away from the sport, you have low carb. Or you go, okay, well, they're losing more than 1% per week because they're playing a lot. I might want to fuel them up some more. So what do I do? Maybe they want a weekend. So maybe I'll do a high day on Saturday where they'll do, let's say, 150 grams of carbs on high day. Or maybe they'll do 50 grams of carbs evening meal. So you have a meal with their families. Then it becomes very similar to what you do with any other client.
Right.
Does that sort of make sense?
Yeah, to be honest with you, it's a bit mind-blowing because it goes against everything that I've been taught in terms of like carb loading 24 hours before, 400 to 500 grams of carbs over the 24-hour period, all of that. But it does make sense. It does make sense.
But there's things that you might get to that because some people are just fucking like, I respond to carbs well. Like completely low carb diet's not great for me unless I'm under real stress or my digestion's all over the fucking shop. Other than because and the only reason why then is because my ability to digest anything goes down and my gut issues will trump my carbohydrate intake as a bigger problem. But normally, if I'm not eating like a child, I can handle a lot of carbohydrates.
Yeah.
You'll have players that do the same thing. So, but what I find that people do is they're told this, oh, you need to have 400, 500 grams of carbs. Right, cool. Steve, you have 500 grams of carbs the day before training. And then it's like, fuck, they're gaining loads of fat. It's because you've given them such a big window. Where in that window was too much? Whereas we start with that, and then we can go, right, I'm going to add another 50. I'm going to add another 50. And then you go, cool, this is the limit.
Yeah. Like, so start low and then build it out from there, and then see how they respond to it.
In a similar way to when people are dieting, to bring this in for Lorenzo and Chemo who do like dieting for fat loss, right? You start relatively low carb. So let's say you go 50 to 100 grams carbs for the first 1 to 2 weeks. And let's say now, after the initial drop in glycogen and water, let's say now they're dropping 0.5% to 2% per week. So we want to add either 30 grams carbs for girls or 50 grams carbs for guys, right? So that would be like 20, 40, like 250 grams of potato for sake of argument, basically about 150 grams for girls if you were going to do it talking food, right? Now, where do you add this? Well, we can either, let's say we've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? And I'll do another week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm just going to give you can play around with this. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I could go, right, where are you missing? Oh, I want some more food on the weekend. So, okay, cool. So we're going to take this 50 grams of carbs. And I'm going to, like, let's say, first example, you want to improve their recovery to training. And let's say they train Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So you add 50, 50, 50, right? Times that by 4, that's the amount of calories you increase for the week, right? Let's say this person wants to do, let's say post-workout, right? Improve recovery. Let's say this person wants more fuel to train. They feel lethargic to train. You've covered all the other bases, sodium and all that stuff. Maybe you go 50, 3, 50, 3, 50, 3. Or we might go, I'm going to add another example. We might go, oh, well, I miss having dinners with my family. Might go 50, evening, 50, evening. See how it's always the same increase. I'm just tailoring it to the person.
Yeah.
And then, or maybe they go, do you know what, I'm good on the week, but I would really like to be able to have a bit more food on the weekend, have a bit of a down day. Same increase in calories across the week. I've just put 150 on Saturday. So now I do 6 days low, 1 day high, repeat.
That's more like my players. The game day is the day they want to just ease off a little bit because most of them played 90 minutes. So that's the day to do it.
So that's potentially way. And again, I would probably, if you're looking at semi-professional players, probably go for one of the first options I went through of like loading up their training days, and then then you can be really tailored. It's not like a free for all on the Saturday. Like you could actually find out what is the amount of carbs that really works with game. However, like at the same time, if you've got players that are maybe just more like recreational football players and they want to lose a little bit of body fat but just like performing well, right, cool, well maybe we just use that opportunity and like start them with the basics around training, and then if they're losing too much weight, load them up.
Cool. So
the key lesson I think to take here is do it in increments.
Yeah.
Because and aim and this might mean that like people are expecting football coaches to give them like 500 grams of carbs on Saturday, and then they just say, look, like we might find, and again, if you've got to tailor this to, if it's, let's say you're training professional players and it's like the Champions League final, right? Like I don't know why you'd start coaching them a week before the Champions League final. Like they should have had coaches 6 months prior. But let's just like example, really important game.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't want to be pissing about with stuff, but like if being able to go, look, like there may be games where you might not feel as good, but we're gonna like doing it this way will allow us to find literally the most perfect routine for you down the line, and you'll be glad you took this time. So it's just sort of like, right, let's start it and go in increments, because then when you'll know it's too much for the individual, where you go increase. Ooh, it's the last increase. Back off. Sweet spot.
Right. Got it.
Right. Rather than be like, here's 500. I'm getting really fat. Shit. Where in the last 500 do I drop 100? Do I drop 2? You know, like do things in increments, like set increments. It makes it so much easier.
Brilliant.
Sweet. All good. Lorenzo, I don't know if you're still there. Have you got anything else you want to go through?
Yeah, I was going to ask a quick question.
Yeah.
So I've got a client, I've got a set-up call later, so he's starting Monday, and he has been losing like 3 stone by himself. Like, still got a lot of weight to lose. He's like, I think he's like around like 97 kg or something like that. So he said what he's been doing is he's been doing, I don't know what type of fasting it is. He'll start eating at like 10 a.m. and then he'll finish eating at 2, and he won't eat for the whole evening until the next day, and he crams all his food in then, and it's mainly just protein.
So a 12-hour fast.
Yeah, basically. Would you change that? Like, I don't know whether to like change it, and then he's like hesitant. One, I'd ask why, always with like people doing fad diets, why are you doing it? Yeah.
Now, because at the end of the day, if someone likes it, right? If someone's like really enjoying it and it's working for them and it just fits their lifestyle, then you just keep the structure and work within that, right? Nothing else changes. It's calories at the end of the day. However, if he's doing that because he thinks intermittent fasting is scientifically superior, and again, your job's not to tell him he's stupid. Like, you agree and understand and empathize and like explain, but it's good to know that, because at some point, if intermittent fasting doesn't fit his routine, he might be more prone to the all or nothing approach when he's invited out for a dinner and it doesn't fit within his fasting window. Like, that could be the thing that helps him like sustain it. So you definitely want to find out why. If he just likes it and he's not married to it, run with it. If it's because he thinks that intermittent fasting is the magical weight loss pill because it worked for him before, then you would slowly want to educate him about calories without like making him feel like his ideas are fucking moronic.
Yeah, so like basically, if he's enjoying it, let him keep doing it until it breaks, essentially. But with this, the only thing, trying to get like I've set him 10 calories a pound. I think it's like around maybe like, let's just say 1,800 or something. I've set him calories. It's fucking hard to get 1,800 calories into like 4 hours of eating. Like, it's. So would you just say, knowing he's got a lot of body fat to lose, just start him lower? Doesn't really matter if it's low.
Meeting where he's at. If he's eating less than that, eating where he's at, and then just work up from there gradually towards your target.
Yeah, I've started to care a little bit less about the specific number, even if it's like 9 calories a pound, and just work off.
You can always, if he's losing too much weight, you always increase it. Like, the same rules apply. Like 10 calories a pound is just a starting point. But like, so if he's on 8 calories a pound, but then he's losing too much weight, then you have the conversation. Look, we're going to be running the risk of losing lean tissue. We're going to be running the risk of metabolic adaptation. It's probably you're probably going to be more efficient in terms of fat loss and looking better and having more muscle mass at the end of this. If we increase food, this is now going to be pretty tricky. Like, do you feel you can get this in your window? And that's the time where he might be open to the idea of changing his approach in terms of intermittent fasting. Not that that's a bad approach, because now there is a reason for it. If on day one, if he's got this thing that's helped him lose 3 stone, he's going to be probably pretty emotionally connected to it. And if you try and change it immediately, he's going to have a bit of a backlash to it. Whereas if you run with it, he starts to stall losing weight, or you want to increase food, you now have, like, we have this specific reason to maybe now add a meal in at 9 or 2.
Yeah. What percentage of weight loss per week would you say is like lean tissue potentially? Because I've got a client who has lost like so much fucking weight, but like too quickly. And even though I'm still trying to increase his food and trying to, and he does a lot of activity, he's lost almost like 10 kg in like 6 weeks, but he doesn't look any different really. It's like, it's very minor.
He will do. I think if he's a big guy, he just needs to lose more till it's seen.
No, he's not.
There's a tipping point.
He's not a big guy. He's like slimish.
I would start increasing his food then.
Yeah, like he weighs like 92 kg, but like it just like fat around, like he's in his 50s or mid 40s. Like he's not someone that you'd think is 92 kg when he started. Like it's not, but he doesn't look like he's lost any fat at all.
But it's just a time thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but eventually there's a tipping point, right? When you got like for in a fat loss phase for a while, that people look like a smaller version of themselves until something starts to poke through, and all of a sudden it's like, oh shit. Like that point where it's like, I look like me, but smaller. And if you don't have a reference point, you look the same in a photo, but then all of a sudden that's where you have other data. That's where you have weight. That's where you have measurements. Like if his waist is coming down and his weight's coming down, the scale, eventually you'll have enough weight loss that it starts poking through, and then all of a sudden things start to snowball.
So do you reckon just keep slowly increasing his food and just try and find
the one?
If
he's losing too fast, and again, that number of too fast is individual, but I'd probably say if they're consistently well above 1%, then probably look to increase food.
Okay, cool. Wicked. Cheers.
Sweet, guys. Well, I'll leave you get on the deck because I need to pack for my holiday to Cyprus. But if any questions, I'll still be doing the call. I need to work at what time it is for me in Cyprus, but I'll still be probably doing the calls. But if there's any problems, I'll put them on the Facebook group.
Cheers, Simon. Thank you.
No worries. Have a good day, guys.
Cheers.
You have a good one. Bye.